Good afternoon. Hi, it's Jason, and it's Friday afternoon. It's March 25th, and this is the Hostos Student Leadership Academy Friday Ambassador Workshop Series. This afternoon, we have the privilege of having a new speaker with us, somebody who's never joined us before, but has an inspirational message and has been a guiding light to other students around the country and even at some of the other CUNY schools in New York. So it's my pleasure, my honor, my privilege to introduce you to my new friend and our presenter for today, Mr. Mars Bishop. And Mars, you're on.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. How's everybody this afternoon? Now, you don't have to come off mute, but if you choose to, just say hello, whatever. You can send it in the chat and just say hi. I've said hello to all of you. As you can tell, I'm a pretty gregarious type of individual. I love meeting new people. I love having conversations. Part of what I do is about the connection that I make with individuals. So I definitely want to connect with you. If at all possible, I would love to see your smiling face. If not, I definitely understand. But this is definitely something that I'm honored to do. I enjoy what I do, and by the grace of God, He has put me in a position where I have been able to impact several lives. So I'm not going to take up much time trying to, woo you over with anything that I do. I'm going to let my message speak for itself. So if that's okay with you, just let me know. I'm gonna take that as okay. All right. So we're gonna get started. As you heard, me talking with Kim. Originally I am from New York. I was born Long Island, New York. I'm from a small town. I know you probably heard of it, Westbury. Um, it's not a really big town. You drive through Westbury, and you wouldn't even know you passed through it. But so I do come from New York, so I am a fellow New Yorker. I've actually been in Georgia for the last since 2004. So what's this, 2022? So about the last 14, 15 years. I do not like Georgia by far. I miss my New York, but at the same time, I have to appreciate what I have been honored to do here, the opportunity that has been given to me to be able to step into my purpose and to touch and impact people is like one of the greatest things that you will ever be able to do. So I want to share with you the message that I believe is going to be empowering to you. The name of the message is entitled, what did I call this? Master the process. I apologize. Master the process, right? So before we get into it, let me give you a little bit more backdrop of me. So being that my parents, both of them, they went to school together. They went to Westbury High School, right? And they lived right around the corner, like a couple blocks from one another. And my mother, she was 17 when she was pregnant with my sister. So that means that she was 17 when she got married. So her and my father, they had a really good relationship when they were in high school. But when it came to me, somehow that changed from the compassion, that changed from the happiness, that changed from, you know, the loving that was there. It seemed like after my sister was born, everything just hell opened up. And when it came to me, I was the person who was born out of adversity. Now we all know what adversity is. We all know misfortunes. We all have experienced our hardships. We all have our own individual story, right? And I'm able to use my story to impact other individuals. But what makes my story so different from other people is the fact that I took that adversity and I turned it into triumph. The same way all of us have that same opportunity to do. And for years, I allowed the circumstances that I was born under to affect me. And I've worked in corporate America for about 20 years. And when I got down here to Georgia, my mindset from New York never changed. I had that block mentality. I really hung out in Queens on St. Albans off of 115th and Farmers. So you could always catch me there. I was always on the block. I was always, sitting on those crates like lazy boys, in front of the bodega, in front of the barbershop. That was me then, right? Just thinking that that was what I was supposed to do. I was trying to be a replica of what everybody else was, instead of trying to be myself, trying to find out who I was supposed to be. Now we always have been told, find out who you are, right? But there's a quote by George Bernard Shaw that says, "Life's not about finding yourself. Life's about creating yourself." And let me tell you how that comes into play. I used to work for Piedmont Healthcare. Upon working for Piedmont Healthcare, I had just graduated. Well, I'm not gonna say just graduated, but I graduated from college. I got my associate's degree for medical billing and coding, doing government billing. And I was in a position where I was getting ready to lose that job. But thanks to God, He was able to allow me to transition myself to connect with a manager who saw something inside of me that I really didn't see in myself, but I knew it was there. So, I asked her what would it take for me to get into her position. Long story short, she said, upon our interview, she was like, "I know you're not going to be here long, but I'm going to give you the job anyway." So, it's very rare that somebody would tell you that you're not going to be here long and they'll give you the job anyway. So I'm like, okay, well, if I'm not going to be here long, where am I going to be? Right? This is the question I'm asking myself. So she asked me this one question. She said, "Mars, why are you here?" Now, I want you to ask that question to yourself, wherever you are within your life. I want you to ask yourself, why am I here? Why am I here at Hostos? Why am I here in the position that I'm in? Like, what is it that I'm striving to accomplish within my life? Right? That's basically what she was telling me. She was asking me, why are you here? So my answer was this. I said, well, to be honest with you, I got to get a paycheck because I got to pay my rent. I got to pay my child support. I got to pay my car note. I got to pay insurance. I'm here like everybody else. She quickly stopped me and said, "You're not like everybody else." She said, "You're supposed to be out there empowering people. You're supposed to be out there mentoring people. You're supposed to be out there speaking. You're supposed to be out there authoring. You're supposed to be out there running your own company." And it's crazy that everything that she said that I was supposed to do, it was like she prophesied over my life. Because what she spoken to me at that time is now what I've done. I'm a two-time author. I have traveled the country impacting several colleges, high schools, students, doing personal, professional development. Um, Actually, just doing what she had called for me to do. I run my own company, and I enjoy what I do, right? So, after our our relationship started to develop, she asked me, she said, we would have conversations every now and again. And it's crazy because when I was in that job and we would have meetings, she would call me into our office and we would have meetings, right? We wasn't having company business. We wasn't having meetings about the company. We was having meetings about my company. She was asking me if I had everything in line, if I had everything set up. So that way, when I was able to step out, that, I would be able to go right into the functioning of business. And it was crazy because she asked me another question. She said, "Mars, why are you afraid to be great?" It's not a lot of people who ask you these type of questions, who really dig into the depth of who you are as an individual. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, well, how do I know what greatness is? I was never shown a portrait of greatness. I never had individuals who were around me that I could say that they are the epitome of being great. So what I said was, well, when you become great, Kim, this is for you. When you become great, they come after you. When you become great, they start to put more of a microscope on you. And I was referring to Malcolm X. I was referring to Marcus Garvey. I was referring to to Martin Luther King. And I'm thinking like all these are the people that did great things. But what I've learned along this journey I learned that greatness wasn't about what they did, it was about who they became. Malcolm was great because of who he became along his journey. When he went from Malcolm Little, Detroit Red, to Malcolm X, to becoming that distinguished, superior individual. Martin Luther King, he became great because of what he did, not because of the civil rights movement, but what it sculpted and made him become throughout the process. Marcus Garvey, he was great because of who he became. Everybody becomes great because of who they become. What they actually have, what they've cultivated and created themselves to be, they became distinguished, they became superlative. So this is what she wanted me to see. But in order to do that, she said one thing. She told me, she said, Mars, you have too many potatoes that you're trying to take with you. Now, what she was trying to tell me at that point in time was like, you're holding on to too many old demons, you're hoarding your emotions, you're hoarding old things that have happened to you. And she was like, I want you to write your autobiography. And I'm like, okay, well, in order to write an autobiography, I have to make sure that the facts are going to be correct. I have to make sure that the timeline is going to be in place, because I have to be very transparent about everything that I've gone through within my life. So that made me go back to my mother, and I had to have one of the toughest conversations with my mother. And it was on a day that I was feeling real vulnerable, a day that, I really wanted that motherly love. I wanted that compassion. I wanted to be comforted by my mother. So she was laying in the bed, and I'm gonna be transparent. I laid in the bed with her. I'm a mother's boy. I love my mother. We've been through a whole lot. And I had to ask her one of the craziest questions. I said, Mommy, I need to know a little bit more about my procreation. It was one of the most difficult questions that I had to ask her, because in asking her that question, her countenance changed. Her face went into a place where she had to go back into the experience of what she had to go through. And I'm like looking at her, and then it hurt me because I saw a tear trickle down her face. And I'm like, Mommy, what's wrong? She was like, you just don't know. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what, Ma. I need you to tell me. She was like, you just don't know. I used to lay there just so that the beatings would stop, just so that he could have a moment of pleasure. So I'm like, Ma, you're telling me that I'm a product of rape. She was like, that's not it. Your aunt said that I should not have a baby out of that situation. And that's what kind of made my heart break. So I said, Ma, not only am I a product of rape, but you're telling me that I was a forethought for an abortion? I said, was there any love for me? And to this day, that was a question that I have never gotten an answer for. So when I tell you about adversity, hardship, and misfortune, that's a part of your cultivation. That's a part of your building process. That's a part of everything that makes you who you are. See, I can never go back, and I can never take away the aggravation or the frustration. I can never take away the hatred. I can never take away the fact that I took my first smack before I took my first breath. I can never take away the fact that I was the baby in the womb that was getting abused with my mother. While she was trying to protect me, I was in there getting abused with her at the same time. So it was very traumatizing. And for that lady to ask me, why am I afraid to be great? How am I supposed to find greatness when I know nothing but chaos, when I know nothing but confusion, when I know nothing but hatred? Where is there greatness in that? That was my mindset. But I want you to understand, it's not about where you start or how you start, but about how you finish. If I had not met, I call it serenity. Had I not met serenity, I probably would be at a job somewhere unhappy. I'd probably be somewhere unfulfilled, thinking about the woulda, coulda, shouldas about my life. But what it gave me the opportunity of doing was understanding that in order to master any process, it starts by mastering who you are as an individual, taking authority and ownership over you, because you're the only one that has control over you. And you have to be willing to step into those old places where you don't want to go, stepping into those places of trauma, those places of hurt, those places of dysfunction. That's where you find out about your greatness. But one of the things that I had to learn real quick was that it was about transitioning my mindset, right? How am I supposed to go on to be better? How am I supposed to go on and achieve what you have called me to do if I don't even know how to do it? Let me tell you, I remember this day so very clear. They say that there's 2 days that you will always remember: the day that you're born and the day that you find out why. On January 24th, 2014, I pulled up into the garage at Piedmont Healthcare, and for whatever reason, this day felt different. It felt like it just was gloomy, and I didn't know that my life was about to change the moment that I went up into the building. So I got on the elevator, I went up to the 10th floor like I always do, and I walked to that little cubicle. Now, my cubicle, it had a big window. And every time I looked out this window, I could see that house that Tyler Perry had from Diary of a Mad Black Woman. It was nestled inside of like this big barrier of bushes. And once I found out that it was Tyler Perry's house, I felt like it was always an antagonization of like somebody dangling cheese in front of you and saying, hey, you can have this, but you got to be willing to step out of your comfort zone. You can have this, but you got to be willing to put forth the work. You can have this, but you have to dedicate yourself to the process. You have to take ownership and authority and master what it is that you want to become. You have to transition your mind. And as I sat at that cubicle, my spirit came to me. And if you've never heard it before, it's that real still voice, and it sounds real small and faint. And I'm sitting there and I could not get myself together. I hear this voice say, there's more for you to do. Now, this is the first time, I'm bugging. I'm like, okay, who's talking to me? So I look at the lady next to me and I'm like, yo, did you just say something? But when I look over there, she got on her earphones, so she wasn't talking to me, right? So I'm like, okay, I'll brush it off. I try to get back to work. 10 minutes later, the voice came back and said, I got something more for you to do. And I'm like, yo, what do you got for me to do? The voice said, get up, walk around, and come back. Now I'm walking around the 10th floor of a building that I walked around for a year and a half, seeing the people that I've laughed with, seeing the people that I joke with, that I engage in conversation with. But for some reason, the day looked different. I no longer saw faces. I no longer saw the individual smiles. I saw people who gave up on their dreams, people who found themselves in a complacent comfort zone because they gave up on life. They forgot what they wanted within this life. They forgot about their goals, their aspirations, and they became settled and nestled within that one position because they were comfortable receiving a check every 2 weeks. And I said, no, this can't be my life. This can't be. So I went back to that desk and I sat down. As soon as I sat down, my spirit asked me one of the toughest questions. I want you to ask yourself this question. He said, do you trust me? Now, how do you tell yourself, nah, I don't trust myself? Nah, I don't trust you. I don't believe anything that you're telling me right now. I don't believe that there's anything more for me to do, right? And I almost stopped myself from stepping into my purpose. But as soon as I said, yes, I trust you, it was like a liberation because I heard the voice say, let's go. And as I swiped my badge over that badge machine, he came back and he said, you'll never have to swipe another badge as long as you continue to trust me. But one thing he never told me was the development process that I would have to go through, the cultivation of becoming a better individual, the becoming the great person, that distinguished individual that she saw within inside of me when she told me you won't be here long, when she told me you're supposed to be out there mentoring people, when she told me that you're supposed to be out there empowering people, when she told me that you're supposed to be an author, you're supposed to be running your own company. This is the distinguished person that she was seeing. But it never told me how I could become that individual. It never told me about going from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. It never told me that I would have to go back and face my demons. It never told me that I would have to go back and I would have to have this conversation with my mother, this conversation that could be detrimental to her. But yet, in order to ameliorate myself, in order to become better, it was something that I was going to have to do. See, I was going to have to face those old traumas. I was going to have to go through that psychobehavioral state that results from a mental, emotional upset or a physical injury. Now, here's the thing. In the conversation that me and my mother were having, my mother told me that my father stabbed her. So to escape from her life, she had to enlist in the military. And this is where things changed for all of us. It was one night. I woke up frantic, screaming, "Mommy, it hurts! It hurts!" She came, she was like, "What's wrong? What hurts?" I said, "I don't know, but it hurts, Ma, it hurts." So she took me to the ER. After being triaged in the emergency room, they came back, they ran the test. They told my mother, they said, "Ma'am, your son needs an emergency blood transfusion. And if he doesn't get it, he's not going to make it through the night." My mother said, "Why? What's going on?" They said, "You didn't know?" She said, "No, what? You didn't know that your son had sickle cell anemia." She didn't know that just by her laying there, just so that the beatings would stop, so that the pain would stop, so that the anguish should stop. She didn't know that the semen that was sent to the womb had the same thing that she didn't know that she had, the sickle cell trait. So over the course of my life, I've been the one holding on to that old trauma. I was the one still holding on to the abuse, the pain. I was the one that was still taking the internal beatings because of what was instilled inside of me. It was the thing that made me say, "God, please kill me." But when I went back and had that conversation with her, it was the one thing that was the most liberating, the liberating thing that I could have. And it showed me that there's so much more that I could do because there's so many other people that are hurting. There's so many other people that in I think it was 2000 and 2004, there was like 18 million people, I believe it was, that had the sickle cell trait. Now, the sickle cell trait is one of the most widely known traits across the US. But yet, she did not know that she had it. So to embrace the challenges that I had to go through, I had that fixed mindset of saying that I wanted to give up. I had that fixed mindset of saying I wanted to quit. So whatever it is that you're going through, whatever challenges that you encounter across your life, whatever adversity, whatever misfortunes, whatever hardships, I want you to understand this. Those times didn't come to break you. Those times came to build you. Those times came to sculpt you, to mold you, to make you better. They actually show you the resilience of what you do have. And if we didn't go through that adversity, if we didn't go through those challenges, how will we know how much we can handle? How will we know how great we actually can become? Because when you're going through the storm is the one thing that we can't see. But if we stay close to the eye of the storm, that is the place where it's calm. But if we get caught up in the winds that are around the funnel, then that's how we get caught up in the chaos and the confusion. And I allowed myself to get caught up in the chaos and the confusion throughout the duration of my life. And as me and Kim were talking, she said she went down to California Now, after I graduated high school, I went down to California because one of the things that I wanted to do was I wanted to be a rapper, right? But I didn't put forth the effort. I didn't know how to cultivate and develop my talent, my skill set to make myself better. But I knew how to put myself in a position of being damaging. So I found myself in the bottoms. I was in Inglewood on 104 and Crenshaw, right between Crentry and Century. Crenshaw and Century, I'm sorry. And that's down in gangland. So you down there, that's more like, the Damus, the Bloods, and things of that nature. And I was doing nothing but destroying myself because I hated who I was. I hated all the negativity and I just wanted to give up. Matter of fact, I went to California to separate myself from my family. So if anything did happen, I wouldn't have to look at their faces. I wouldn't have to see the hurt. I wouldn't have to see the pain. I wouldn't have to see any of that was traumatizing to them. So I did it in a way where I was afraid to pull the trigger, but I started living a very destructive lifestyle, a lifestyle that I knew because of what was inside of me. If I just damaged myself even more, that I could ultimately perish and I could ultimately give up and let go of this life. But I'm so glad that I didn't. August 22nd, 1996. I was leaving Inglewood and I was going to school. I was in medical assistant. And from Inglewood all the way to Crenshaw, I lived off of Wilshire and I lived off of Wilshire. I can't remember the side street, but the main street was Wilshire. So it took an hour to get from Inglewood to Wilshire. In the last 20 minutes, my lips started to tingle. My eyes started going blurry and my fingertips, they went numb. So I'm like, yo, what's going on? Right now, at this point, I'm panicking. Like, God, come on, please, not right now. But all I could have was flashbacks of that 12-year-old kid that was always in pain, that 12-year-old kid that was always talking about, God, please kill me. The one that was caught up because of the circumstances, because of the hurt, everything that was instilled inside of me in the beginning was a thing that was traumatizing to me. So when she told me that I needed to release the potatoes, she was telling me that I needed to release the hurt because I couldn't go where God was calling me to be if I was still tagging along everything that was bad, everything that was detrimental. So if anything that you're trying to accomplish is going to take for you to get rid of anything that you're hoarding, all the old feelings, all the old emotions that you're suppressing because they become repressed. And at that point in time, there's three things that you have. You're going to have the repressed, you're going to have the suppressed feelings, you're going to have the lash outs, and then you're going to have the things that you try to escape. And that escape could be the drugs, whatever it is negative, whether it be like, sex or something like that. Anything that we try to attach ourselves to that we're not supposed to attach ourselves to is because we're afraid to go back and face those demons. So me going back and having that conversation was one of the most powerful things that I could have had. And at that time, it taught me the power of taking ownership of my circumstances. Just because we are born in a certain place or born of a certain circumstance, it doesn't mean that that's who we are. Matter of fact, James Allen said, and as a man thinketh, circumstances don't make a man, they only reveal him to himself. So everything that you have gone through within your life up to this point of where you are, that put you in a position of being an Hostos, that put you in a position of whatever you're holding on to, whatever circumstance that you think is debilitating or breaking you down. I want you to understand that was a circumstance that you were supposed to go through. We all have something that we were created to do, but there's also a storm that we have to go through. They say that you're either in a storm, coming out of a storm, or getting ready to go into a storm. But either way it goes, anything that we encounter is what's supposed to cultivate and make us become better within our journey. And one of the things that I learned was the self-actualization. People tell us all the time, go to school, get a good job, and work hard. But I want to just switch that up just a little bit. Going to school is good because of the education. Yes. Going to school is good because of who it allows you to become along the journey. But at the same time, what I need you to understand is that when you work hard, you're working hard for you. You're not working hard because of the fact that you're at Hostos. You're not working hard because of the fact that you're in a career or at a job. You're working hard because of what you want out of it. And that's where you find the self-actualization of what you can actually achieve, who you can actually become along the way. And that was the one thing that she really wanted me to see was that, okay, if you look at this, if you see to the fact where your greatness is inside of you. Matter of fact, Dr. Miles Monroe said God places your future somewhere so deeply inside of you that you cannot destroy it. One thing is that people are so afraid to jump into the abyss of themselves because there's no bottom. Matter of fact, there's a verse in the book of promise, which is the Bible, that says the inner thought and the heart of man are both deep. We're afraid to jump into the abyss of who we are. We're afraid to find out who we are because there's no bottom. And yes, you're going to get scarred. Yes, you're going to end up with an immobilized left arm. Yes, you could be a product of rape. But at the same time, if you're willing to jump, if you're willing to go into the depth of who you are as an individual to transition yourself from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, taking that ownership of your circumstances, meaning that you're taking authority and ownership of who you are. It's just like George Bernard Shaw said, life is not about finding yourself. Life's about creating yourself. What are you creating? What are you developing? What do you want out of who you are as an individual? Because there's something inside of you that you haven't even tapped into right now, but you're in a position right now to put yourself in a very good state of finding out what you can accomplish, what you can create, who you can become along this journey, the greatness that's inside of you, the distinguished person that's inside of you. That's superlative mentality. Superlative means that you just arise above everybody else, that you're not willing to succumb to what they are doing. You ever heard that saying? If you show me your four of your friends, I'll show you that you'll be the fifth one. I think that's how it goes. Show me who your friends are, and I'll show you what your circumstances are gonna be. I found myself in a position. I think that was somewhere in August where I woke up and I had hit my homeboy up. My homeboy lived in St. Albans. So I hit him. I was like, yo, what's good for the day? What y'all got going? He was like, well, we're getting ready to head up to Connecticut. Woo, woo, woo. And I was like, all right, cool. Give me a minute. Let me shower. Let me get fresh. And I'll be there in a minute. And the thing about it was the day for me to go get my daughter. It was a day for me to spend time with my baby girl. The same one right now that's doing her thing. The same one right now that is excelling in the way that she was supposed to excel. And I neglected going to pick my daughter up to go hang out with my partners. And by the end of that day, I was detained, first-degree robbery, conspiracy to commit robbery, and larceny. And I found myself at the worst position that I had ever been in, at the bottom, less than the bottom. I felt like I didn't even exist. I had never been to jail before. And I was like, okay, well, how am I supposed to get out of this? This is the first time that God told me to focus on the solution and not the problem. He told me he had the problem already taken care of. And I told him, this is the first covenant. I said, God, if you ever get me out this situation, I promise I'll never go back to living the way that I was living before. I promise I'll never go back to that old mindset, that old fixed mentality that says I can't do something because of where I come from or because of the fact that I'm allowing myself to be detained by the hurt, by the aggravation, by hoarding all those old emotions. So the self-actualization started with me being in that cell and asking God, what is it that you need for me to do? So when he came and he told me in that cubicle, there's more for me to do, it was really the confirmation of what I asked him at that time. What do you need for me to do? And it was the self-actualization that showed me that I need you to go and I need you to make an impact within this world. I need you to show other individuals how they can take authority and ownership over themselves, how they can remove themselves from that hurt, from that pain, and they can put themselves in a position where they can travel the country, where they can make an impact on several individuals and let them know that there's so much more that they can that they can do, that they can achieve if they truly believed in who they were. But it required for me to take action. Action. And that's something that we don't focus on a lot. You know, action is one of those things that is like, sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing. But in this case, I used to do a online radio show called Live Life in the Purple. And I had a segment called Inspiration Speaks, where I had 7 to 10 minutes to be able to empower the individuals that were listening. And I remember the host came to me one day after the show. She said, Mars, in order for you to get better within your speaking, in order for you to get better within your storytelling, in order for you to be a superlative communicator, it's going to require for you to do certain things. And I said, what is it that you need for me to do? She said, I need for you to learn. I need for you to train, get the instruction, and do the practice. But what she told me, she said, over a course of 10,000 hours, you have to be willing to put forth 10,000 hours in your reading and your studying and learning new vocabulary words and learning quotes and learning how to really paint the picture for individuals. She told me, she said, people will never remember what you say, but they will always remember the way that you make them feel. And it was just, at that time, it was just like Serenity telling me about my greatness. So you're telling me in order for me to become great, there's still levels that I need to achieve. There's still levels that I need to put forth work. There's 10,000 hours that I have to continuously keep reading, that I have to continuously keep studying, that I have to continuously keep practicing. And that's why I'm such an avid reader to this day. And when I was in high school, I was the class clown. When I was in college, I never really put forth an effort to study anything, because my mentality was always, I want to be out there and I want to hang out with the homies. I want to hang out with the in crowd. But the in crowd, I found out, will get you caught up more than isolating yourself. The in crowd is where everything happens, but nothing happens when you stand out. When you can make the decision to say that I'm going to separate myself from everything that's going on, that shows your individuality. So when she told me about 10,000 hours, what I did was I aligned myself with a coach. And at that time, my coach was getting ready to go on tour with Eric Thomas. Now, this is where the story kind of gets a little bit crazy, because before I left corporate America, Serenity asked me, she said, do you know who Dr. Eric Thomas is? I said, no, ma'am. She said, do you know who E.T., the hip hop preacher, is? She said, you ever heard of him? I said, no, ma'am. She told me, she said, I want you to go back to your desk. Not many managers are going to tell you to go back to your desk and pull up his videos, not on work time. So I knew that there was something different. So when I aligned myself with a coach, and I asked him, I said, Coach, can I go with you on these engagements when you're flying to these different places? He said, if you can get a ticket and get to wherever I'm going to, you can come to every one. What he did not know was that one of my mother's retirements was with Delta. So I got a buddy pass. I fly from here to the moon if they open up a seat on the plane where I can actually get to the moon. And so at that time, I put myself in position to where I was getting the learning. I was getting the on-the-job training. I was putting myself around individuals that were doing the same thing that I was doing. So I got the instruction. I got the practice. I had to be that one to keep it going. See, a lot of times we look at the success of where we want to go, and we see this big bubble that flashes success, success, success. And we see the money, the materials, the houses, the cars, the women, the dudes, whatever it is. But success is really attached to that greatness, because success will allow you to see exactly what you can achieve if you put forth the effort to transition in your mindset, if you go through the learning process. Like right now, if you're going through Hostos and you're going through the learning process, if you're trying to, if you want to get your bachelor's degree so that you can go on and get your master's degree, there's certain things that you got to learn. If you want to leave out of Hostos and you want to be on the dean's list, or you want to graduate summa cum laude, you want to graduate magna cum laude, it's all about the learning. What are you doing to put yourself in a position of learning? What are you doing to make sure that you are developing and cultivating yourselves? Stepping out of that comfort zone that when you get home, you say, oh, nah, I could wait till later on. Knowing that you got to test maybe the next day, or you got to test down, a week ahead. Here's the thing that I learned. I think about learning is that if you go over the material just for 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes, and just keep repetitively doing it, you're building the routine of where you're telling yourself, okay, I'm going to go over the information. I'm going to keep it fresh. I'm going to keep it learned. So when I was there, I was not doing anything but soaking up how they were on stage and how they were speaking to individuals, how they delivered a message, how they got it across. Not a lot of people get the opportunity to step into their purpose and have on-the-job training. I had on-the-job training. I was watching E.T. I was watching Inky Johnson. I was watching Jeremy Anderson. I was watching David Shands, and I seen how they put together everything that they did, but it all came from the training. It all came from them saying that, okay, this is what it's going to take for me to become better. These are the 10,000 hours that I have to put forth so that I can master the process, so that I can master and take authority and ownership over what it is that I say that I want. When you take authority and ownership, can't nobody take it back. Nobody can take it back. Like nobody could ever talk to me about being a product of rape. Nobody could ever talk to me about having 2 strokes. Nobody could ever talk to me about sickle cell anemia, because I own it. I own it all. And I'll never give it back, because it was the process that I needed to go through. Now, let me tell you a little bit about the process. The process don't change. The process is the same regardless if you're a student, regardless if you're in corporate America, regardless if you're in a relationship, if you have kids. The process is the same no matter what. The process is the set of small actions necessary to achieve or acquire the desired result of what it is that you want. You got to ask yourself, what do you want right here, right now? What is the greatness that I have inside of me that's going to be able to make an impact on the outside? See, everybody looks for this greatness to be on the outside. Everybody's looking for something to happen on the outside, but everything happens on the inside. He gave you everything that you needed to put yourself in a position that could achieve and make an impact that you can give back to this world, that will create the life that you want. It was Abraham Lincoln who said, life's not, he said, the best way to predict your future is to create it. So what is the future that you predict for yourself? What is the future that you're creating right here, right now? See, you don't understand. School isn't hard. School isn't difficult at all. It's just the mindset that you have. If your mindset wakes up every day and say, oh, I don't feel like going to class, or I don't feel like dealing with this right now, you're telling yourself negative connotations. You're not empowering yourself. You're not uplifting yourself. So whatever message it is that you're giving to yourself, you're stopping yourself from getting there. You're telling yourself, nah, this is not what I want to do. And you're looking at everything. One of the things that I learned was that the L's, you look at a lot of the losses that you may have taken within your life. But let me tell you, those L's don't stand for losses. Those L's stand for lessons. What did they teach you from the experience that you went through? That's what you have to ask yourself. Critical thinking is a big part of figuring out solutions. You got to be a critical thinker in every part of your life. What are the lessons that I'm learning out of the experience that I'm going through right now? So if you're in an experience right now, what is the lesson that experience is teaching you? If you didn't get the grade that you wanted on your last test, what was the lesson that you took from out of there? Did you not study? Did you not put forth enough effort? Did you party too much? Were you caught up in the surroundings of the storm, the whirlwind that was going around, or did you stay close to the eye where the calmness was? Because if you allow those L's to be losses, then you're always going to think that you're taking a loss. But those losses are lessons that are teaching you something. What is life teaching you? What is it giving you to say, if you just put forth the effort here, if you get the learning, the training, the instruction, and if you put forth the practice, if you take action, then what is it that you can accomplish? You know, one of the people, should I say, that I became very fond of was Kobe Bryant. And sadly to say, I didn't become admirable about Kobe Bryant until after his passing, until I started listening to some of his videos. And Kobe had a saying that his high school teacher told him. He said, don't rest. He said, rest at the end, not in the middle. A lot of times we want to take a break in the middle. We want to quit before we even hit the end. We want to give up because we think that we're taking L's. We think that we're taking losses. But it's actually a lesson. It's teaching you that if you put forth just a little bit more effort here, then if you become better in the process, if you keep doing what you're supposed to do, redundantly, keep the practice, keep the training, keep going over and over and for 30 to 45 minutes, you can become better. Kobe said that when he was in the lunchroom and he would look around at his peers, he would see that they were laughing and joking. He would get up from the lunchroom table. He would go back down to the gym. This is where he started to acquire the Mamba mentality. The Mamba mentality was saying that you're not going to outwork me. The Mamba mentality saying that you're not going to be able to stop me. All he did was go back to the basics, the fundamentals. He was going back to the dribbling, the handling, just doing the shoot-ups, the layups, whatever the basics was to him that was going to make him better, whatever he could do to master the process and take authority and ownership over his game so that he could become the best NBA player in the league, one of the best ever, one of the greatest. I was talking to my uncle one time, and my uncle, he's in real estate down in California. He's in Sacramento. And my uncle is on that $1 million level or above it. And I asked him, I was like, I just need you to give me some of the tips that made you better, that helped you get to where you were. He said, Mars, I'm not the best seller. I'm not the best speaker. He was like, I'm being completely honest with you. I'm not the best father. He was like, the only thing that I did was I became good at the basics. I mastered the basics. So what are the basics that you need to go back and master? What are the basics that you need to really cultivate and develop that's going to lead to the greatness of what it is that you want to achieve? What is it that you're aspiring for? Because if you can't become great at the basics, then you will always quit in the middle and not at the end. One of the things that I've learned along this journey is that you give everything that you have. There's a quote by David Dita. David Dita wrote The Way of the Superior Man. He said, you must be willing to give 100% towards your purpose. Fulfill your karma, then move on from that specific form of living. You got to be willing to give 100% towards your purpose. What is your purpose? What is that thing that resonates inside you so deeply? That thing that you feel throbbing right now as I'm talking to you. What is that thing that is talking to you and is telling you this is what we're supposed to be doing? And whatever traumas that you have gone through, whatever circumstances, you got to fulfill that karma, meaning that you can't hold on to it no more. You got to remove those potatoes so that it lightens the sack. You're always going to pick up something along the way, but you got to learn how to let it go. Once you do that, you move on from that specific form of living. Anything, when you listen to any of the people who have excelled within life, who have put themselves in a great position, you're going to hear one common factor. They worked hard. They got dedicated. They got the training. They got the learning. They got the instruction, which means that they read. They constantly were putting something in their mind that were helping them develop and cultivate. If you look at Warren Buffett reads 4 hours a day. He wakes up reading. He goes to bed reading. If you're not willing to develop and cultivate your mindset, then how do you figure that you're going to put yourself in a better position? How do you figure that you're going to put yourself in a position of walking across that stage, getting the degree that you signed up for? Because I'm going to tell you this. If you continuously keep stopping in the middle, there's a thing that you signed up for, Sally Mae, student loans. Sally Mae is coming back for that money, regardless if you graduate or don't graduate. She's coming back for that money because she loaned it out to you. So here's the thing. Sally Mae made an investment into your education. She made an investment into your future. So the crazy thing is this: if you know anything about investing, you want to return on that. You want to return on that money, and every day you're given 86,400 seconds. If somebody told you right now, if they said, I'm going to give you $86,400, you would jump at that opportunity, right or wrong, right? Okay, because we all want the money, but we don't want to put forth the work that it takes for that money to come out. So what I'm telling you is this: everybody under the sound of my voice is a multimillionaire. It's already there because it's hidden so deeply inside you. You just have to you have to be willing to bring it out of you. You got to be willing to invest. Invest means reading, studying, cultivating yourself, getting the instruction, getting the practice, doing it over and over again, making sure that you understand that those L's are lessons and that you're not going to go back to them again. It's like, okay, being to the fact that my mother was in a relationship with domestic violence and she was stabbed. That's something, right? That's a lesson to let her know that she never wants to go back into that type of relationship. She never wants to go through that type of experience ever again. She never wants to relive something that was damaging and detrimental to her, because that was where the hurt, that's where the pain, that's where the aggravation came from. So once you start to move yourself up the steps of success, you got to burn the bridges. When I say burn the bridges, that means that you burn the bridge to whatever hurt, whatever pain was there before. You burn the bridge because you don't want to go back. Life is about forward progression. I don't understand why people continuously keep going back. And I was one of those people that continuously kept going back. And going back never set me up for anything but more hurt. It only set me up for the fact of understanding, like, okay, this is not where I want to be. I no longer want to be in this position. I no longer want to be in a place of living at the bottom, because the bottom is monotonous. It's dreary, unprofitable place for anybody. So if you're comfortable living at the bottom, then stay there. But one thing I know is that nobody wants to stay in the same position. Nobody. You are doing something each and every day to develop and cultivate who you are. Every single day. Because that's the way that life was supposed to move. Life is a forward progression. Life is the thing that you never want to regret anything. And by taking massive action, by taking that big action, yes, it's going to scare you. But it's like if you get on a roller coaster for the very first time, it's going to be one of the most scariest events ever. But once you go up that first thing, I remember I went to me and my homeboy. We went to Jersey. What was it? What's this? Magic Mountain. I believe that's in Jersey. And this was the first time I ever got on a roller coaster. And I was like, yo, I was real paranoid. I was real scared. And when we went up that, and we went on the highest roller coaster in the park, was my first roller coaster experience. And as we went up that thing, and it dropped down, and that scream that comes, it's not a scream of fear, it's a scream of like liberation. It's a scream of like, being free. And that's life. Life is about facing your fears, facing your demons, facing the things that try to stop you. So what I'm saying is that the massive action has to be colossal. You can't just do baby steps. No, you're past the baby steps. Now it's time to take those big adult steps. It's time to take those steps that are going to put you in a position of becoming relentless. And when I say relentless, I mean that you are showing yourself that this is what you're going to do regardless what comes your way. Whatever challenges come your way, it does not matter. There's a quote that says, life has three choices. You can give up, you can give in, or you can give it all you got. But if you look at it the way that I look at it, you only got one choice. Your choice is to give it all you got. Because if you give up or if you give in, that means that you're resting in the middle and not in the end. That means that you're quitting, and that you're saying that you're not good enough. So that means that you haven't really transitioned your mind from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, because a growth mindset does not see any obstacles. A growth mindset does not see any opposition. A growth mindset knows that there's nothing that can stop it, regardless to what comes your way. Everything that you have to be loyal to it. You have to be willing to put forth 100% towards your purpose, fulfill your karma, to move on from that specific form of living, because you no longer live there. It's like if you look at a caterpillar When the caterpillar has to transition and go to the stage of going into the cocoon so that it can transition and become a butterfly, a caterpillar, it crawls on the ground for the first half of its life. But once it's called and put in the position of going into metamorphosis and having to go to that cocoon, and then it comes out as a butterfly, and a butterfly represents new life. So why would you give up when you have new life that's inside of you? You don't want to go back to living on the ground. You don't want to go back to crawling around. You want to see what's next. And you can only see what's next by being relentless. And Tim Grover, he wrote the book Relentless. Tim Grover was a trainer for the NBA who's worked with Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade, all these great NBA players. And he said that the one thing that they had was the burning desire to achieve something greater than themselves. They had a definiteness of their purpose, that this is what they were created for. What are you created for? What are you created for? And once you find out what you're created for, you will enslave yourself to that commitment. I can never give up. I can never give this up. I can never go back to corporate America. I can never go back to anybody trying to tell me exactly what it is that I need to do when I know that I was called to do something greater, when I know that I was called to be an influencer, when I was called to make an impact. You got to turn all those weaknesses into your strength. I own sickle cell. I own rape. I own 2 strokes. I own the fact of thinking that my sickness was a weakness. It wasn't a weakness because I don't even call sickle cell sick no more. I'm super. I call it super cells because that's the thing that was strengthening me this whole time. It was the one thing where I was in that cocoon, where I was being developed, where I was being cultivated, where I was being put in a position of saying, okay, this is what it is that you're going to do. And I had to go through the process, the set of small actions necessary to achieve this right here. Just this one engagement. It comes with 10,000 hours of practice. It comes with 10,000 hours of studying. It comes with 10,000 hours of learning new words, of making sure that I can articulate my message effectively to you so that way you understand that no matter what it is, you can never give up. I'm going to tell you a quick story. There's a book called As a Man Thinketh. And the reason why I read so much is because when you see other people go through their process, or when you see individuals go through their hardships or their misfortunes, it gives you the understanding that you as well can do it too. But not only that, I started reading because of the 2 strokes. It also affected my brain. So my memory, my reading, my articulation, it wasn't as good as it is now. But it was the thing that helped me get better. So that's why I'm an avid reader. And it was what's his name? Who wrote As a Man Thinketh? Anybody ever heard of that book? Come off mute if you've heard of that book before. I'll probably get his name before you come off mute. Napoleon Hill wrote Think and Grow Rich. He talked about a story in that book about a guy named Edward C. Barnes. Edward C. Barnes was a businessman who lived, I'm just gonna call out a state. He lived in Ohio. But his true burning desire, his definiteness of purpose was to become a business partner of Thomas A. Edison, the inventor. He didn't have the resources, the money to get from Ohio to New Jersey. But one thing he had a burning desire. He had that relentless pursuit of going after what it was that he wanted. He knew that he wasn't going to give up or give in. He was going to give it all that he had. He was not going to rest in the middle. He was going to rest at the end once he achieved everything that he wanted. He took a freight train from Ohio to New Jersey. Orange, New Jersey is where Thomas Edison was. It said he did not get an interview with Thomas Edison for a year. So if you don't have the resources, if you don't have the money to sustain for 12 months, what do? You have to use your skill set. You have to use your ideas, your mentality to say like, okay, I got to find some way to maintain until I can get until I can get that interview. He didn't know how long it was going to take or when it was going to happen. As just like life, you don't know when anything is going to happen. You don't know when that connecting factor is going to put you in a position where preparation meets opportunity, and that opportunity takes you to a bigger place within your life because you were prepared. You went through the steps of action. You went through the steps of transitioning your mindset, taking ownership of the circumstances, self-actualization. Nobody knows when it's going to happen. I don't know exactly when I'm going to go from this position to the position that God has for me. But I know that if I don't give everything that I have to my purpose, I'll never achieve it. If I don't become relentless, I'll never achieve it. If I don't enslave myself to the commitment, I'll never achieve it. But Edward C. Barnes, he committed himself to the process. When he got that first interview, Thomas Edison kind of blew him off. He didn't pay attention to him. Edwin C. Barnes, he said, I'm not here to work for you. I'm not here to be an employee. I'm here to be a business partner, an associate. I want to connect myself and align myself with you to where it helps both of us. Because I know I have the skill set and the qualifications of becoming greater than what I am right now. I have loyalty. I have that relentless pursuit. I have that burning desire. So Thomas Edison blew him off the first time. Edward C. Barnes said, I didn't come all the way from Ohio to just say that this guy was going to blow me off. I want to be a business partner. So what did he do? He went back and he started working on the basics. He started working on what he needed to do to put himself in a position to align with Thomas A. Edison. Now, Edward C. Barnes was a business person. So if you're a business person, only thing you're going to do is you're going to go back and you're going to work on the basics of business. You're going to work on the fundamentals. What do I need to do? What do I need to say? How do I need to put myself in a position to show him that I'm what he needs? So he was able to acquire the second meeting. The second meeting, he began to show more of his character. He began to show more of his integrity. He began to show more of his mentality. He began to show him his relentless pursuit. So Thomas Edison said, there's something about this guy. He didn't know if it was a good thing or a bad thing. How many times have you come in contact with a person that you have said, there's something about this individual? I don't know if it's good, I don't know if it's bad, but I know that this individual has something inside him that it seems like he has the ability to achieve something great, Kim. He has the ability to do something with his life, to create something, to take himself from point A to point C if he's willing to master the process, if he's willing to take ownership and authority over who he is as an individual. So Thomas Edison, he created something called the Ediphone. And if you don't believe what I'm saying, you could Google Edward C. Barnes, you can Google Thomas Edison, and all this is in Google. But I read it in As a Man Thinketh. Thomas Edison creates the Ediphone, but it wasn't selling the way that he wanted it to sell. And he was about to give up. He was about to rest in the middle, not at the end. Edwin C. Barnes come back and say, I can sell this machine. I can sell this machine so good that it will create riches and abundance for both of us. But I'm not doing this as an employee. I want to be a business partner. I want to be an associate. I want to align myself with you. So he was able to sell that Ediphone and put him in a position where they achieved great riches, where they were able to achieve and acquire a status that was sustainable to both of them. So to go from the bottom to go through the process of where you don't know anything is going to happen, but you know that you have this burning desire, and you end up aligning yourself with the individual that you wanted to align yourself with, whether if it was Thomas Edison, whether if it was Eric Thomas, whether if it was Inky Johnson, whether if it was Jeremy Anderson, you put yourself in a position of doing the work necessary, taking action until you align yourself with those individuals, until you align yourself and you acquire that which you're striving to accomplish right where you are, because it's right where you are that you're on the brink of it. And if you give up right now, you'll never know how great you can actually be. If you don't take action right now, you'll never know exactly what you can achieve. If you give up right now, you'll never know exactly what that end result has for you. If you give up right now, you'll never know what the bottom of you is, what the depth of you is, because that is where everything that you want is. It's the inner thought and the heart of man that are both deep. One more story. We've all seen King Richard, but I read it. I read, or not, let me say read. I watched the YouTube version of Venus and Serena, the story of the two sisters. And I read it prior to King Richard coming out. What makes Richard such an astonishing man is that this guy had a plan, a 74-page plan for his daughters before their life was even came into manifestation. He had the plan already created. And he was at his security job and he was watching TV. And the announcer came across and said that the tennis player that was in the match was making $40,000 for that one particular match. One match making $40,000. A light bulb went off and said, I'm in the wrong business. If I could make $40,000 just in a tennis match and I put in all these hours into security, then I'm doing something wrong. What Richard understood was that you get paid more for your thoughts than you do for your labor. So he went home and he told his wife, he said, we got to have 2 more kids. The first one born was Venus. 15 months later, Serena comes. But prior to Serena coming, he already had Venus on the tennis court, getting her prepared. Now, if you know anything about, let's say, okay, in the South Bronx, how many people do you see on a tennis court? That's in the hood. We see more projects than we do tennis courts. We see more basketball courts than we do anything else. So you'll see more individuals on a basketball court than you will on a tennis court. Now you in Compton and you're in the midst of the hood, basically gangland, and you have 2 little young black girls on the tennis court and you're teaching them tennis and you don't know anything about tennis because it's something that you self-taught. That means that you have a burning desire to get yourself out of that position. So what he did was he put in their mindset, the growth mindset, to get out of a fixed mindset to say that I'm going to settle for where I am, because where I am is only the beginning point of where I can go. If I master myself, if I take authority over what it is that I want, then I can achieve anything that I'm striving for. If I put forth the effort, if I transition my mindset, and if I go through the steps of transitioning my mindset to taking action and becoming relentless, can I not achieve it? Can I not do it if I give everything that I have? Instead of giving up and giving in, quitting and saying, I just have to settle for this right here. He pushed them. And not in a way to where he pushed them away, but in a way to where he pushed them to where they started to believe in that vision. They started to believe in that dream. They started to see what their dad was talking about. If they just continuously keep developing themselves, what he did was he didn't do it maliciously, but he isolated his girls from all the other trauma, all the other foolishness that they could have got caught up in. And he put them in an environment that was conducive for their learning, for their growing, for their development. And as they being in that position, it helped them to become 2 of the greatest tennis players ever. When Venus was 12 years old, she had a $12 million contract with Reebok. When Serena was 12 years old, she had a $12 million contract with Puma. Because of the vision and the relentless pursuit, that burning desire that father had, because he enslaved himself to the commitment. He knew that he had to give everything that he had to his daughters so that they can achieve exactly what they were supposed to achieve and get themselves out of the life of poverty. Nobody wants to be at the bottom. The bottom is dreary and a monotonous place for anybody. Nobody wants to be at the bottom. Everybody's striving to get to a better position. That's why you're at Hostos right now, because you want something better for your life. You want something better for your family, for your children, for yourself. You want that career. You want to put yourself in a position of fulfilling your greatness. You want to put yourself in a position of that superlative attitude, that mindset that says that I'm not going to stop right here in the middle. I'm going to give everything to achieve exactly what it is that I want. I'm going to give everything to achieve and accomplish what I know that I'm in pursuit of. My daughter, me and Amari, we were disconnected since the time that she was 13. Me and her mother went through a hardship. So because of me and her mother went through a hardship, Amari detached herself from me. I kept texting her. I kept reaching out to her. I kept asking her cousin, just tell Mari I want to talk to her. Just tell her I miss her. After doing that for over the course of 2 to 3 years, I get a text from Amari one day that says, hey, Dad, this is me. And the crazy thing about it was I had her phone number in my phone the whole time, but I never reached out to that particular number. So we started rebuilding our relationship. And I kept telling her, you know, baby, I'm sorry. You know, I apologize. This was never what I started out to do, you know. And one of the things that she told me, and this is where I seen the maturity in her, she said, Dad, don't worry about it. She said, we have an opportunity right now to start creating new experiences, new relationship, new opportunities to rebuild and to grow. We have an opportunity to ameliorate ourselves and make atonement, to be better, to amend whatever that is, whatever that hurt, whatever that damage was. See, I never wanted to be an individual to where I had a daughter out here and she grow up and she have daddy issues later on, and then it affects whatever relationship she gets into. So over the course of developing that relationship, Mari hit me, I think it was the beginning, like in January. And she hit me about the blue as I was leaving out of the office. And she was like, Dad, what's up? I was like, Mari, what's good? What do I do to deserve this call in the middle of the day? She was like, nah, Dad, I'm just trying to get better. I really appreciate talking to you because you give me the responses that I'm looking for. You give me the encouragement that I need. She was like, Dad, I just want to tell you, I enrolled back in school. I'm going to go ahead and get my degree to become a veterinarian. Now, me and her have been talking about this over the course of this whole time because when she was younger, she said, I relate better with animals than I do with humans. And I was like, you know, that sounded kind of strange, but it's not Dr. Doolittle strange, right? It's not like she's talking to animals and she's hearing their voices or anything like that. It's just what her purpose, what her creation is. She said, Dad, I'm gonna go all the way to become a veterinarian. She said, but I have to start the process right now. So over the course of the conversations that we have had, it just let me know that she was listening to when I was telling her to let go of the old hurt, to let go of the trauma, to get rid of the apathy, to get rid of the depression, to get rid of the anxiety, and really go after what it is that you want. Create your future. And your future is attached to the education that you have. But remember this, education it surpasses college. I didn't get here by going to college. Oh, yes, I did go to college. I got my associate's degree. That was it. But I did not develop myself and cultivate myself through college, through school. I cultivated myself through continuously reading, continuously learning, absorbing information, putting myself in a position of saying, like, I want something more for myself. I always knew that I wanted to master myself. I kept telling people I want to be the best version of me because I'm tired of walking around with so much hurt, so much pain. I'm tired of walking around as being an individual that is a detrimental individual. Do you know what it's like to be an angry individual your entire life? Do you know what it's like walking around mean mugging your entire life when you know that there's something inside of you that can put you in a position where you can shine, where you can illuminate, where you can evolve, where you can reach that superior life that God has for you, that greatness, that distinguished individual that's inside of you? It's like an onion. You got to peel it back layer at a time, and you got to be willing to face the hardships. You got to be willing to face the misfortunes. You got to be willing to face the adversity. You cannot allow anything to stop you. You have to be willing to go 100% towards everything that you want. Why? Because at the end of it, this is life. It's the Learning Institute for Experience. I'm your boy Mars Bishop. Let's have a conversation, y'all. All right. Now, let's have interactive time. What's the time frame that we have left, Jason? We got 10 minutes. So for these last 10 minutes, let's talk about some of the challenges that you may be going through right now, that you may see where you need to transition your mindset, where you need to take action. Where's some of the places within your life right now where you need to become relentless so that you can accomplish what it is that you want? Come on, guys. Come on, let's talk. Let's talk. I enjoy talking.
Okay, hi. Um,
Hello.
Hi, this is Kim. I want to be a good student. I need to read more. I need to become a better writer, and I need to talk to people more. I know that since I've been in this pandemic, or we all been going through this pandemic, I'm in isolation. And since the school been open, the college, I come here frequently, and I walk around, and my designation is to go to the library to read. And I do read, but I'm so excited to be on the campus because I want to be around people. And I realize there's no one here. So my goal as being a good student is read more, write wrong. I mean, read more, write more, and socialize with people. That's it. Hi, thanks for sharing. I would say for me, time management would be my biggest asset because of um the pandemic, like you said, and not being on campus. It's kind of like a different transition of getting up and actually going to class rather than logging in. So managing my time with that and getting my assignments completed to be a better student would definitely be a major goal to reach, the extent of what I plan on doing for my career.
Thank you for sharing. Anybody else? So can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So I have a frozen screen here on the laptop. I think Mars may have got separated from us. Mars, are you there? Let's see. Okay. So let's see if we can reconnect. Anybody else have anything to share while I'm doing that? So I see you, Naka, you shared something in the chat. Here's Mars back. Mars, you back? Hmm. Mars, can
I
you hear us?
apologize so much. Yes, sir. My internet did some craziness. Oh,
All right, you're back.
okay. I'm sorry.
We
Who
had
was
some
the
people
young lady
share,
that
but
was speaking? Huh?
we had some folks share. I think Binaka wrote something in the chat. Some other folks may have spoken when you were off. So I don't know
Okay.
if they want to do it again.
Guys, I apologize. That's the virtual world that we're in right now. I have no control over the technical problems. But again, really, I hope that this message was something that was able to give you a different perspective, that it could actually show you that no matter what it is that you're going through, there's always going to be some type of process that you have to encounter. And if you master yourself through this process, through all the ups and downs and everything that comes with it, I guarantee that you can come out victorious. I guarantee that you can put yourself in a different position. I have done it. I have been able to travel this country. I have been able to impact over thousands, over 10,000 students, over as well as with professional development too. So if there's anything that you guys are striving for, don't give up because it gets hard. Get stronger when you go through the process. Gain that fortitude, that resilience, because that's what you need to actually put you in a position of acquiring what you want. So that's what I really hope that I was able to help some of you or give you some different insight on what you may be going through right now. And it doesn't matter if you're in New York, it doesn't matter if you're in California, it doesn't matter, because the process don't change. The process is always the same thing, but you are the one that has to change within the process. Does that make sense?
Definitely.
All right. Do we have any time left, Jason? I think we got 4 minutes. Is there anything that we could speak about within these last 4 minutes, guys? Ladies, gentlemen, anybody? I don't want to just say guys. I want to also, talk to the ladies as well. I have a 21-year-old daughter, and that's one of the greatest accomplishments is to see my daughter turn 21, but for her to tell me that she went back into school because of a conversation that we had. So I definitely understand both perspectives. So if there's anything that I can give to you that's gonna add any more encouragement, let's have a conversation. Let's use up these last couple minutes, if at all.
I definitely agree with you. Definitely perseverance. And regardless of how difficult a situation can get, being able to see the finish line, and keep trying and not giving up, it's definitely something that you would feel more like rewarded in the end.
Right, exactly.
Because most people quit before they even know what their potentials are, and they see others around them, accomplishing things that they actually started but didn't finish, and it makes them feel like, maybe I shouldn't start back because they're at a level that I should have been at, but it's never too late. I've seen professors go back for their PhD, and you're like, you're so, how old you are you coming back for your PhD now? But it's like, your time is very important, and what you do with your time definitely changes who you are. You're adding more growth to yourself, more knowledge, more experience to share with others, to encourage them to experience a better life for themselves, and to educate the ones around them to live a better life as well.
Right. So
Yeah,
what challenges that you have gone through do you feel that you need to persevere through just a little bit more, just to, so that you can see yourself on the other side?
Definitely. When it came to like college, I definitely would say it was a lot of pushbacks, but it was never like me saying I'll never like try to finish, It was more like, even though these circumstances are here, what can I do to face these circumstances and make it better? And what can I put in my way to accomplish certain things so I could, get to the other side? So even though I wasn't able to finish the time I wanted to finish, I was able to accomplish a lot of other things before, so that by the time I'm finished, I've already accumulated all these experience and skills and knowledge to provide for further growth, and just being able to talk to individuals, like getting the experience to actually speak to someone else that's experiencing other things as well. I wouldn't have gotten that experience if I didn't go through where I went through, because this is the time that I'm here for. This is the time that they wanted me to hear these inspirational words, or, these go through those failures then, not now, So this is my time now to rise above my circumstances.
And do you know what's important? The reason why, and here's one of the things that people don't understand why I say let's have a conversation, because when you can hear yourself talk, or you can hear yourself say what your challenge is, then you're actually talking yourself through the process. So one of the most important things is to hear you say it. So that way, when you hear you say it, it actually becomes a stronger belief that you have inside yourself. You understand what I'm saying? So don't ever be afraid to continuously encourage and motivate yourself and tell yourself that no matter what it is, I'm willing to weather the storm. So I appreciate you coming through and you sharing that information, because that's how I get better. I get better off of individuals that I speak to, because I have to know what you know in order to make sure that I'm speaking the words and the things that you understand. Does that make sense?
Definitely does. Thank you so much.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Continuously keep going on. Okay, go ahead, Miss Rose.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. First, I want to say thank you. It's for your presentation. It's very, very like strong and motivated. So, I am a 50 years old woman. I have 3 kids, and I've fight a lot to overcome my challenge. I moved here, I was 38 years old. My challenge was speaking English. It was my challenge to go back to college. The English was a big challenge for me, but I never give up. I keep going. I still have some, weakness sometimes. So, but thank God I'm almost done now. I'm graduated this semester, and I feel so proud of myself. I make my kids proud because they're always like, "Oh, mommy, you can do it." I always like, "Yeah." One time I give up. I give up. I stay home for 2 years, and I go back to the school. When I asked the young man, I said, "I want to go. I want to come back to school." He was like, and my GPA was 117. And he was like, "You think you can do it this time, Rose?" I was like, "Yes, I'm gonna do it." He was like, "Okay, I'm gonna do everything I can to put you back, and I want you to make me proud." I went to the school today just to tell him my story, but he wasn't there. I forgot his name. I don't know how to schedule an appointment with him. So yeah, so I did it. I'm graduated. I feel proud, and I speak English better, right? Right now.
Yes,
I never,
ma'am. Yes,
I never thought I would, because I was 38 years old when I moved here from Haiti. I only speak French and Creole. So
okay.
I'm proud of myself. I think if I can do it, everybody can do it. That's why I
Yes,
want.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And Miss Rose, let me just be a little bit transparent. My grandparents, my grandfather, may he rest in peace. He just passed away about 6 months ago. But his parents came to New York. They moved from Jamaica. And basically, they had the same thing, the English, like the language barrier, but it never stopped them. And what they were able to do because of their skill set, they were able to acquire. I think they had somewhere between 5 to 7 houses,
Right.
and they were actually, because of the work ethic that they have,
Yeah.
they were able to acquire and accomplish things that people would give up trying to do
Yes.
if they came from a different country. So
Yeah.
I commend you. I congratulate you on your graduation. Don't
Thank
ever
you.
stop. This is just the beginning. So
Yeah.
now that you graduated, Ms. Rose, I ask you this: what's next? It's always got to be a next. It's always got to be
Yes.
a next, because if there's no next, you're gonna find yourself being complacent and comfortable. So
Right.
always go for the next thing. What's next?
My next step is to be a
Okay.
social worker. I can be able to help like young people that's moving from here to get better of themselves. And yeah,
Okay. Okay. I
so
love it. I
I want
love
to
it.
say
I love
thank you
it.
to Jason also. That's always inviting me for all the workshop this year. This is the first time I participate in so many workshops, and I feel so blessed. And I learn a lot. I'm so happy. So thank you so much, Jason.
Thank you, Miss Rose. I appreciate that, and congratulations again. Anybody
Thank you.
else? Anybody
Thank you,
else?
everybody.
You guys see what that work ethic does, man. It's just something about that internal thing, that fire that's inside of you, that burning desire. I'm not sure, she says she's 58, right? So for this lady to come from Haiti, not speaking any English, but to accept the barriers and the opposition that was against her, and it made her achieve what she was going after. That right there is motivation. That right there is self-actualization to anybody, that there's nothing big enough to stop you except for you. The only thing that will stop you is you. And there's one thing that I've heard is there is no enemy, guys. There's no outside force trying to stop you. The only thing that's stopping you is the inner me. The inner me is your enemy. That's the thing that's going to stop you. It's the person, your biggest competitor is the one that you see every morning in the mirror that looks right back at you in your face, but you may not even see it. But that's the only one that can stop you. Don't ever allow anything or anyone to stop you from achieving what it is that you want. Anybody else? Anything else? Anything else, Jason?
And Mars. Oh boy.
Yes, sir.
You guys hearing that echo?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna do this. Oh boy. All right, here we go. I'm having some technical stuff too. All right, let me try to fix this. All right, here we go. All right. Can you hear me now? Is it better?
Yes.
No more echo?
No more.
No.
Okay. So that's so weird now. I'm on the phone doing it. And I think you're probably spotlighted still, Mars, right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
I'm all over the place right now. I've been trying now for a couple minutes to get us back in place. So I just want to know, gosh, let me see, Mars. Let me see if I can fix this. All right, here we go. All right, can people see me now a little bit? I know I'm in the shadows a little bit. All right,
Yeah,
cool.
you good. You good.
Yes.
All right. Technical, this is the first time this entire year we had this. We had it last year, but we haven't had it this year. But okay. So I want to thank you all for being here. First of all, I want to thank Mars. I think your message was really inspirational. I sat here, so I'd have been in awe of it. I want to thank you for your openness, your willingness to share completely of yourself and really give everybody a piece of knowledge and a piece of your own experience, and also the guidance that can help them along their journeys. That's really what we're about, right? So there's a lot of stuff that happens inside the classroom. There's a lot of stuff that happens extracurricularly when it comes to clubs and organizations. And there's a lot of things that go on in people's lives where they deal with it day to day. But when we come together here in our little cocoon and we meet and we start transforming people from caterpillars into butterflies, it's where the message meets the road that we're all on. And so I think every single one of us who was in this room with you today had something to learn, took something from your message, and we'll use it to develop a stronger sense of ourselves as we move forward. And it'll help us on our journey. And so I want to thank you for that. And so can everybody give Mars like a virtual applause, whether it's with your hands or with like any kind of like symbolism that's going on? I can't do it because I'm actually now holding my camera here. So, and then I want to thank everybody for being here and contributing. Your messages are important too. Rose, thank you for your kind words. The reason why we do this, and Mars and I spend a couple of weeks like working on this to get him here to this point, going through all the hoops and ladders that we have to go through with a big institution like CUNY. But I'm happy that he's here and he got here. But the reason why we did all that is, so that we have the opportunity to inspire, to motivate, to give and enhance your experience, and to provide you with some of the resources. And like I say, a lot of the time when we have our speakers, maybe something that you heard today stuck with you today, and maybe something that you heard today didn't even stick in right at the moment. But somewhere down the road, you're going to reference back this moment that you have with Mars Bishop, and it's going to make you have a realization that you heard something extraordinary in the Student Leadership Academy workshop series, and it's going to help you along your journey. And so I want to thank all of you for participating. I really appreciate you. You know, the reason why I do this is because I love this and I love you, and I'm here to support you along your journeys. And I want to thank you, Mars, again for being here and making it a special day for us, even though it's rainy outside in New York and it's kind of sunny, or it's okay in Georgia. So we wish you the best. I know you're planning the college tour, and have already been put on notice by Kim that you have to be booked for next year. So we'll have that conversation. I wish you all the best with your family and everything that you're doing out there. And you know, you can always rely on me to give you the support that you need. So please feel free to reach out. And everybody, I would normally say goodbye to everybody, but I'd have to scroll through my screen like 100 times to see all your names. So I can do it like this. So let me say goodbye, Estelle, goodbye, Abby, goodbye, Annie, goodbye, Bernice, goodbye, Francine, Junior, Catherine, Khadijah, Kim, Christina, Leighton, Rose, Saba, Sashi, Sonia, Joe, Sabrina, Teresa, and Anaka. I really appreciate you. Everybody have a great weekend. I will see you soon next week, Arel Moody, and we'll have a lot of fun. All right, Mars, take care.
Yo, thank you, Jason. Thank you, everybody on the line. I really appreciate you, and I hope to see you soon. Y'all have a good weekend. I'll talk with y'all later.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.